Hi friends, thanks for tuning in. Today I want to talk to you about self-deception from a spiritual and a psychological point of view. So self-deception is something that is a very strong hold of the devil in our lives. Like, it is one of the hardest things, I believe, to be set free from, because we are actively deceiving ourselves. And so when it's like something we're doing to ourselves, it can be really difficult to correct or to recognize. You know, sometimes when we're being manipulated by someone else, it's easier to see that. Not always, but because sometimes people can be so subtle in their manipulation that we can't detect it. But nonetheless, self-deception is just something we're all very guilty of. And just to kind of bring validity to this point, I did want to show you a clip from Dr. Courtney Warren. She's a psychologist, and years ago she did a TED Talk. How many of you just love watching lectures? I gotta admit, I do, but I know most people probably don't have much time, so I thought I would give you the highlights of some of the things she says. So listen to what she has to say about self-deception.
Humans are masters of self-deception. We fool ourselves into believing things that are false, and we refuse to believe things that are true.
She says that we fool ourselves into believing things that are false. And although that's true, from a spiritual perspective, it's not that innocent. It's actually kind of really pretty serious, because we're purposely doing it. And that is the one thing, you know, in the Bible, as I've read the Bible, there's a constant theme, and it is that people who are deceived, it's because they really want to be deceived. They did not want to know the truth. They preferred to believe a lie. And it's like that just comes up over and over again as a constant theme. I think it's in 2 Thessalonians. I'll put the scripture up, but it talks about how people didn't love the truth. They didn't really want to know the truth. And because of that, God let them believe a strong delusion. And so the more self-deceived we are, because we want to deceive ourselves, because we don't want to believe the truth, the more danger it is that we will believe a lie to our detriment. She also said that we refuse to believe things that are true. And you might be wondering, how can we do that? That is so crazy that we would actually refuse to believe things we know to be true. And I know I've thought a lot about that, because, you know, in the past I've done that. And it's like we just do not want to face the reality. We don't want to deal with the hard facts. And so we want to avoid things, or we want things to be very convenient. And so if it's not convenient, then we just pretend it's not the truth and we ignore it. And this is how we perpetuate. So we perpetuate things that are false. And then so much of the time, you know, our lives come crumbling down, because again, it's like we've built on the sand, or we've built that house of cards that cannot withstand the true reality, because you cannot manipulate reality. In the end, it is what it is. The truth still will be there, even if you cannot accept it. And so it's very important that we don't deceive ourselves, and that we you know, face the truth about ourselves in life. And so I thought it might be better for you to hear from just this psychologist, because, you know, I don't feel like I can really improve on how she lays out these points. So I'm going to show you a clip on how we deceive ourselves.
Sigmund Freud first described lying through ego defense mechanisms, psychological strategies that protect our egos, our core sense of self, from information that would hurt us. Denial, refusing to believe that something is true, even though it is. I don't have a problem with alcohol, even though I drink every day. I'm not jealous, even though I secretly check my partner's email. Rationalization, creating a reason to excuse ourselves. I wouldn't have yelled at you if you hadn't treated me so unfairly, thereby justifying my yelling. I know that smoking isn't good for my health, but it helps me relax, thereby justifying my smoking. Projection, taking an undesirable aspect of ourselves and ascribing it to someone else. I'm not like that, you're like that. When dating someone you've lost interest in, you say things like, you're not ready for this relationship. When in fact, you're not ready for this relationship and never will be.
Denial, rationalization, justification, and projection. I'm guilty of all of them. In fact, I still do it. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to be perfect, guys. We really aren't. I mean, if I want to buy a pair of shoes, you better believe I can justify that. It's always easier to project things onto other people than to believe that maybe, you know, that's how we are. So I'm not saying we're going to be perfect and never do these things, but we certainly don't want to do them about things that are really important in life. You know what I mean? Like the big things about life. And we really don't want to do them about, you know, little things, but I'm just saying it's going to be hard to be perfect. So when you catch yourself doing these things, you know, beware of that. Those are dead giveaways to self-denial, or I mean to self-deception. There's other ways though that we deceive ourselves.
Polarized thinking in extremes. I will either eat no cookies or an entire box. Because if I eat one cookie, I've already blown my diet, so I might as well keep eating. Emotional reasoning. Thinking that our feelings accurately reflect reality. I feel hurt, so you must have done something bad to me. I feel stupid, consequently I am stupid. Overgeneralization. Taking a single negative event as an infinite spiral of defeat. After going through a bad breakup, you think, oh, I'm always going to be alone. After getting denied a promotion at work, you think, I'm never going to be successful in my career.
How about those? Guilty of any of those? Again, I'm guilty as charged. I'm probably really bad at the feelings one because I am so feely. I mean, I'm not like that touchy-feely, but if I'm feeling some kind of way, then I think it must be that way. And I've had to really stop with that because it's nonsense. And so many times we self-sabotage thinking that, you know, because maybe we perceive something a certain way that it really is that way, just because that's how we see it. I've been really guilty of that one. And of course, and I do recognize like the generalization. I feel like not always, but I catch a lot of people with that, you know, with words like always, I never do this, I always do that, or just generalizing things across the board is another way we self-sabotage. But there's more, guys. Watch this one.
We deceive ourselves to avoid the givens of life, the fundamental realities of being human that we must face. Death, we're all gonna die. Ultimate aloneness. We were born as a single person housed in a solitary physical body. Meaninglessness. Our lives are inherently meaningless unless we give them meaning. And freedom. We are responsible for ourselves because we have the freedom of choice. To avoid confronting these realities, we frequently lie to ourselves. I am this way because of my upbringing, thereby deferring responsibility for my choices. The bad things on the news, they would never happen to me because I'm somehow special and uniquely protected from harm. I'm not going to write a will. I'm young, I'm not going to die anyway, thereby denying my mortality.
So again, we avoid dealing with the unpleasant things of life. So we're constantly just looking for pleasures, and we don't want to face certain realities, certain truth about life. We want to pretend they're not there. We want to excuse them. And the danger in doing that is that, again, the truth is still there. We're just going to have to deal with it later at some point in our lives when it has snowballed and become a bigger problem in our lives. Therefore, it's important that we, deal with these things. I don't necessarily agree with everything she's saying here. I think that inherently our lives are meaningful. I think the enemy tries to make us believe that they're not, that we're insignificant, but we're all born significant. But nonetheless, it's just, we deceive ourselves about maybe like, how happy are we really? Like we try to tell ourselves we're happy when we're really not. And instead of looking at the real reasons why we're not. So that's what I'm talking about there. And then of course, there's my favorite deception, which is,
here we deceive ourselves by believing what we were culturally conditioned to believe is true, instead of deciding what we actually believe is true. Do you compromise yourself to meet cultural norms? Do you think you need to look a certain way, be a certain weight, earn a certain income, get married, have children, be religious, because you're supposed to, or because you believe that it's right for you?
I call it being culturally programmed. And I know I was so culturally programmed. I talk about that in my very first video, I think, where I came to an age like in my mid-20s where I didn't even know who I was, or I realized that I didn't know who I was, because I had been programmed by society to think a certain way. And this kind of deception feeds into our need to fit in, to attach, to have community relationships. So none of us want to be ostracized. We all want to fit in. So there's a temptation to not go against the flow. We want to get along, we want to fit in, and that's good and fine, but not at the expense of being who we really are. And there are great dangers, in allowing self-deception in your life. And she talks about it in this clip.
Self-deception leads to massive amounts of pain and regret. To avoid being honest, we frequently make choices with harmful consequences to ourselves and others. We may use drugs, alcohol, eat, shop, gamble, steal, lie, leave people, or pass our emotional baggage down to those we love the most. Or we may choose not to change, even when we're miserable or causing profound harm to those around us. Looking back at life with regret is incredibly painful because you can't change your choices in the past.
It hurts people, and it hurts yourself because you're not being true to yourself. You're not being authentic. And so you build kind of like a fake life. So again, these are just some of the ways that we deceive ourselves. I just wanted to make this video and to just give some validity to this, because it is like there's so much written about it in psychology. Self-deception is probably like the biggest problem that there is with us human beings. Like she said, we are masters of self-deception. So don't let this be you. Really think about, get in touch with God and with that inner voice, and learn who, discover who you really are, and who God created you to be, and spend that time soul searching so that you can discover yourself. In a spiritual sense, when you give into self-deception, then what happens is that you are in danger of then believing delusions, like where God just says, okay, fine, you don't want to be truthful, you don't want to believe the truth, and the Holy Spirit will back off, and these other deceptive spirits will allow people to believe what we call strong delusions. And we can see that all over society. People really are delusional in our modern world, are they not? Is it just me, guys, or do y'all see it too? So anyway, I hope that's helped, and we could talk about this a lot more, but I don't want to make a long video. Next time we'll discuss some other key ways to not be deceived. We'll do that next time, how to not be deceived. Till next time, thanks for watching.